Launch season is well and truly upon us because we have brand new tech from a total of 7 different brands. So we're going to chat about them all very briefly. We've got Bastion, Enve, Hunt, Look, Lazer and Van Rysel, and they have all dropped new gear. So we're going to start with some eye-wateringly expensive new bars from Enve. Joe, tell us all about them.
So last week, Enve launched the Enve SES AR one-piece bar and stem. Now, the first thing to note is that this is not the handlebar that Team UAE and Tadej Pogacar have been riding for the last sort of nearly a year now. This is actually a handlebar that's designed more for the all-road category. So they were first released with the Enve Melee and the Enve Custom road bike, and now, if you can cough up the cash, they are available to the wider market for the grand total of £1,300 or $1,200.
That is so much money.
To put it into perspective, I think a great comparison is that is about the cost of the entry-level Specialized Alley. But yeah, what do you get for all that money? Well, they're all handmade in the USA. They're available in 20 different length and width configurations, and they all share the same 5cm flare that we saw from the SES Carbon Aero handlebars about 10 years ago. So in terms of geometry, it's a 76mm reach and a 127mm drop, all pretty safe. They're compatible with Enve's in-route internal cable routing system as well. And they're going to weigh in the region of 330 to 360 grams. That's obviously size dependent.
Yeah, well, what kind of sort of width options do they have, like the stem and the actual bar width?
So as far as width options go, you're looking at anything from 38 centimeters wide to 46. Now that is for the hoods. Interestingly enough, that means in the biggest size, the drops will actually be more than half a meter apart, which definitely sort of puts them, I would argue, to be honest, more towards the gravel spectrum than road, actually, because 38 isn't particularly narrow.
No, not at all.
And as I say, 51 centimetres on the drops is a lot of control.
But that's not the only new thing from Enve, because I also think they released something else pretty recently. I think they came out with some new hubs, which aren't always the most interesting new piece of tech, but I think there's a deeper story going on here, right?
Yeah, there's a little bit more context to it. So last week, or the week before last, I should say, Enve released another set of its own hubs. They're 100% in-house design, and they're 60 grams lighter than their J-Bend model, 326 grams claimed for the pair. They also feature a lower engagement angle of just 3.3 degrees, or down 2, I should say. That's a little bit lower than DT Swiss's equivalent, goes down to 6.6. Now, the wider context to this is really that the DT Swiss's patent on ratchet sort of hub systems ended in 2020. And now Enve is the latest brand to come out with its own hub design that sort of works off the back of this patent. Now, Enve said in its press release, they said they're totally behind ratchet systems over sort of more traditional pull systems. The first thing that comes to mind, though, is why it's taken quite so long. Obviously, we're 4 years on now. A couple of people reporting that actually engineering the tolerances needed for these ratchet systems is really, really tricky. So it's only now that we're starting to see other brands catch up, but Enve is the latest to do so.
Yeah, and Enve's like storming ahead in that in those terms, really, because with DT Swiss, I think that they're quite conservative with their star ratchet system, and so they start at just 18 teeth, and so these are like quite big, meaty teeth. It's very reliable system, but that means that you get 20 degrees of engagement, and you really, really do feel that. They go up to 24, 36, 54 numbers of teeth, and that brings the engagement down. But as you say just earlier, the Enve's, they go all the way up to 100 teeth, which is really quite impressive, especially considering the problems that other brands are having when it comes to the tolerances.
That makes a lot of sense. And Enve aren't the only wheel manufacturer that's kind of taking advantage of this ending of the patent, because Hunt has also brought out some new wheels called the Sub 50s, and those wheels have been brought out to replace the Limitless 48. So, as you can imagine, they are about 50mm deep, but they do also come with a new hub. But that new hub isn't quite as exciting as the Enve Hubs, and if anything, they're pretty off the shelf. Now, I did speak to Hunt last week about the new wheel set, and I will say there's a lot more to them than just the hubs. Arguably, the hubs are the least interesting thing, in my opinion. But those new hubs, they do seem to be a pretty standard off-the-shelf kind of design. They're made in a similar factory to other wheel manufacturers out there as well. But when I asked Hunt about the hubs, they said that essentially the reason why they went for those ones and didn't kind of try to come out with anything really exciting and brand new is because actually they just wanted something that would work and be reliable. And actually I really respect that, because I think in a world where maybe brands feel like they need to be pushing the envelope all the time, that can result in things that maybe sometimes don't work that well. So I think actually just using a hub design which is proven, durable, versatile, and just works, actually I think I rate quite high. But it's the other features of the sub 50s that I think is quite cool. So as I say, that's a 50mm deep wheel set, which is coming in at a claimed 1,380 grams, which
it's impressive.
That is impressive. And that's using their UD carbon spokes, which save around about 50 grams compared to the stainless steel versions. But yeah, I think that those wheels, which have been made to kind of prioritize either 28mm tyres or 30mm tyres, one, really forward thinking, really lightweight. I think they're going to work very well for people that ride on a mixture of terrains and do kind of want to balance that aero and lightweight performance.
Yeah, so do we have any data or any claims on exactly how they stack up against the competition?
Yeah, so Hunt did actually provide a lot of their testing data, and I've got some numbers in front of me, and they have compared these wheels against the 454 NSWs, the Zip 303Ss, the Enve 4.5s, the Princeton Peak 4550s, the sub 50s, and then of course the Roval Rapide CLX2. So they've kind of put themselves up there with the best of what's on the market, which is that's a pretty bold claim, because a lot of these wheels cost double what the Hunts do. But actually they've stacked up pretty well. Overall, when you look at the graph that you guys can see on screen, it's only really the Rovals that maybe give them a proper run for their money, especially at kind of those higher yaw angles. So according to Hunt, they're actually beating out a lot of the competition.
So let's say you're speccing your brand new bike, you've popped £1,300 handlebars on it, you've popped £3,500 wheels on it. Yeah. What do you need next?
Well, Bastion seems to think that you might need an amulet to go with your bike. So now, I can't believe this, all new Bastion bikes and frames that are sold will now come they're going to come with an amulet, because apparently that's what...
Any special claims for the amulet?
So there's no claims for the amulet, but imagine if it did, that'd be great. But what it does come with, or what they do is engrave each amulet with the frame number of your very own Bastion. So they are linked, they are custom and individual. But when I saw this on Instagram, I was just thinking, like, why? What's the point? Now, I don't think that it's going to be inflating the prices of bikes, but I'm wondering whether or not Bastion thinks that it helps justify the price of their bikes. I mean, sure, they are very expensive and they do have some incredible technology that goes behind that. I just don't think you need all this extra stuff. I feel like it's the equivalent of having a Ferrari key on your keys just so you can wave it around and show that you have a Ferrari. It feels like the same. I don't understand it. I think it's stupid. But then again, if I had the money for a Bastion, I probably wouldn't hate it. Next up, we've got something that I think is quite exciting, and I think you do too.
I think it's exciting.
I do. New pedals from Look.
Yeah, I do like Look. Well, I don't know, maybe going back to the start. I mean, Look's got a really strong position in cycling's heritage, starting up with the ski bindings. They created the first clipless pedal in 1984, and so this is the 40-year anniversary, so it's quite momentous for Look, really. And so, to mark the occasion, Look has updated its Keo blade pedals, and these, I think, are also quite, almost like an iconic product, really, sort of within cycling's history. And so for the most part, most clipless pedals, they use a metal spring as the retention system to keep your foot firmly locked in place. But the Keo blades, first released in 2011, they use a little leaf spring made out of carbon, which is lovely. The sort of snap when you clip into it, it's quite unique. It does have some difficulties in that if you want to change the release tension, you need a different carbon wafer, really. But aside from that, it's a nice, really simple and really satisfying set of pedals. But they've been updated. They've been maybe there's some issues with the previous iterations, some little niggles that can cause a little bit of frustration. And I think one of them is really the way that the old look Kyo blades, they used to hang, and just for weight distribution, they'd always be like the wrong way. You'd have to kick it over with your toe, and if you've got white shoes, you just end up with a scuff. It's perennial nightmare. But these, the sort of friction or the torque, sort of with the pedal spindle, in combination with a shift in the weight distribution, means that it hangs in a position which is more amenable to your foot clipping in. And so they claim to have solved that issue. Once we've actually got a set and attached it to our bikes, we'll be the judges of that. But they have sought to address it.
I think there's an interesting number here, because what have Look said about, because they've claimed a number against this.
Exactly. And so the claim from Look is 60% easier to clip into your pedals, but no, it's the torque, it's the friction in the pedals. And so does that correlate one-to-one for it being easier? Perhaps not, but maybe it's a difficult concept to communicate in just a headline. But it's quite an interesting one, that.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting that they're kind of updating these pedals, because like you say, they are kind of like iconic within the game.
Sam, I hear you've got hold of a new helmet from Lazer.
I have. They have actually released the brand new Z1. Now, the Z1 was actually super popular with amateurs, and loads of pros were wearing them as well. So yeah, this new helmet is the successor to the previous version, and it does come with quite a few claims. One of which being that it has achieved a 5-star Virginia Tech rating, which I think we'll probably come on to a little bit later. But it also incorporates Lazer's own kinetic core impact technology, which is essentially their way of dealing with rotational forces.
A bit like MIPS, really.
A little bit like MIPS, yeah. So, but yeah, I've been using the helmet now for probably about a month or so. And actually, I've been really getting on with it. I will say, in winter, it is pretty cold because it's a very well ventilated helmet. So I'm keen to use this in summer when it's a little bit warmer here in the Northern Hemisphere. But to be honest, I'm really enjoying using this helmet. I actually used the previous Z1 for a couple of years, and I really enjoyed that helmet. I will say one of the big things that I've noticed is that the retention wheel, and so adjusting the cage, it is smoother. It's a lot smoother. But I still don't think that's better than just having a wheel at the back. I still prefer a wheel at the back compared to the top mounted.
Well, apparently it's supposed to work better with ponytails, but not being in a position to test that. I agree with you, but maybe there are use cases where it could be better. Yeah,
so actually that leads me on to another point that I found with this helmet is that the cage, when it sits around your back, obviously you can manipulate that cage and have it come down further, but even in its lowest setting, sometimes I do just feel like it feels like it's a little bit higher.
That's interesting.
I would actually I found when I was testing the Cask Elemento, I really like that because the cage came right down and it felt really like secure and on my head.
That is something I found similar as well with the Cask Syntesi when I tested it. It did sort of come quite far down the head, which is quite nice. It gives that sort of feeling of security that the helmet wouldn't lift at the back of the head, which is quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's one thing that I guess maybe I'm not the biggest fan of, but it's still an incredibly comfortable helmet. Like it fits like, I don't want to say it, but it fits like a glove. But yeah, I mean, this helmet really lands itself in competition with things like the Protone from Cask, the Trenta, the Prevail, the Airbreaker. But actually, I think it's really worthwhile. I think it deserves its place in the market.
Absolutely, and well, I think considering the weight, so Lazer claims that this is the lightest helmet with rotational impact protection. The claimed weight is 220 grams. We've weighed it at 236 grams, so a little bit heavier. But even so, that's still lighter than Giro's Aries MIPS spherical helmet, and that's 265 grams. And so there's significant difference there in terms of the weight.
And when that's on your head, those sure, we're only talking about tens of grams, but actually when it is on your head, those tens of grams really help and you can really feel it. Now, next up, we do have some new tech from Van Rysel / Decathlon, and I believe they've brought out a new range of turbo trainers.
Yeah, absolutely. There's 3 new trainers, and we've got the top end model here. In fact, we've got it, just down here. Pop that on. It's about 20 kilos, so it's got some heft to it. There we go.
That's pretty big.
It's sizable. In fact, maybe that's not going to work.
Maybe. Run us through some of the specs.
Yeah, well, I'll start with the price because I think that puts everything in perspective, really. And so it's not sold in the US just yet, and it's only in UK and Europe, but it's £550. And so just to put that in comparison with the Wahoo Kicker V6, that's £1,100, and with the Tax Neo 2T, that's £1,200. And so it's half a price or better than half a price of these top-end trainers. And so when it comes to the specs, so we've got a plus or minus 2% for the accuracy, which is sufficient for top-level Swift racing. But it's obviously less than the Kicker, which is plus minus 1%, and same for the Tax. And then also with the Kicker, it's got the auto calibration, which this doesn't have. And so you're losing a little bit of those nice features, but half a price, you can't really complain.
It's interesting, isn't it? A few sort of creature comforts, obviously, there that are lacking. But actually, the thing that impresses me is, on first impression at least, it's actually, the build quality is really nice for something that's so much cheaper, because I think often something that's manufactured with loads and loads of units, often people will cut costs on some of the materials that you end up touching, and it just doesn't feel like such a nice product to use. But on first impression at least, it seems pretty well built, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's got a lot of metal in the construction, and just the solidity to it, and the stability. I mean, comparing it to the Elite Zumo, that's £100 cheaper at £450, but it's got much worse specs, and so it's it doesn't get close to the maximum resistance of this, which is 2,000 watts. Wow. It's it doesn't. I think that the Zumo is maybe about 13% maximum gradient. This goes up to 20, and so it's ticking all of those.
The fact is, it's competing with the best.
It's competing with the best, and it's about half a price. And as I say, it's a step up over these mid-range direct drive trainers that we previously had. When it comes to the stability, the Zumo, it's reasonable, but it's not got the same sort of like substance as the D900, which is really quite impressive.
Well, I think that's the fact, is that the fact that even before having ridden it, just looking at the specs on paper, we're already comparing it to things that are twice the price, which kind of then insinuates that when you look at things that are direct price rival kind of comparison, it's already kind of blown those out of the water. So it's fair to say that I think the ride feel will probably be quite good. And again, for that price, I think it's just going to be really interesting to see how it does compare to a Kicker.
Now, you're just missing out on, I call it gimmicks a little bit. I mean, the Kicker's got its little feet that give you a bit of play, and the Tax as well. It's got a little bit of sway. Do you really need that? Is it worth paying that much? Exactly. And again, with the Tax, that works without having it plugged in. And that's a nice feature. And maybe, that's a reason to opt for the Tax. But I will say that there's one criticism that I will have of it, and that is that it uses a quick release skewer with end caps like Tax used to use, and happily more recently Tax is changed that you can just put a through axle straight through the trainer as if it's just a wheel, whereas with this you have to put the quick release through the trainer and connect it to the trainer that way, and then you have a through axle rolling about, getting lost, and so it's a bit of a pain in that respect.
But this also isn't the only trainer they've launched. They've launched two other models.
Yeah, they've launched two other models, and so we'll gloss over the middle one because it's kind of sort of in no man's land a little bit. But the D100 is very interesting in itself, and so the price is £240. Very impressively priced, and so it's about sort of like half that of a Kicker Core, but it's got a very similar design. It's got that T-leg setup that everybody has from like the Swift Hub, from the Jet Black Volt, and the Explorer Lazer S. Something that's notable about this is that the specs seem like somewhat down, and so the maximum resistance that is claimed is 600 watts for this D100, and so that compares quite unfavorably with the Explorer Lazer S, which apparently can do up to 2,500 watts. And then it's a similar story again when it comes to the resistance. These other trainers that have a very similar design, look almost the same, having maximum inclines of even up to 18% is claimed, whereas with this it's only claimed to be 6%. And so I have a sneaking suspicion perhaps that the trainer is actually better than what these stats are rating it as, and this is just to differentiate the bottom end trainer from the higher end ones.
As a direct drive trainer coming in at that price level, I think that's just great to see. But like you say, even if the more expensive D900 is as competitive as we potentially hope it might be against, say, the Kicker, that in itself will be amazing.
Absolutely.
For this month's Bike of the Month, we have the Canyon Endurace, but the aluminium version. Stefan, run us through it, because I think the version that we have is a slightly newer model.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this is coming with the new Shimano 105 12-speed mechanical. And so it's brand new group set, very, very nice. But to just focus on the bike, just in the first place, because it's just a very nice bike, really. And so it's aluminium, but you couldn't really tell for the welds, the seat post junction or the head tube. It's really, really very smooth. It's only around the bottom bracket that it's given away as being an aluminium bike. And so the lines, it's very, very pretty. Yeah, it looks almost like a carbon bike, but then you've got that nice like impact resistance of aluminium, and so it's a very, very nice frame. And then when it comes to the tire clearance, it goes up to 36 millimeters, which is pretty generous, really, for what's ostensibly an endurance road bike. But it's coming with 32 millimeter tires, and to be fair, it's looking plump, those tires. The internal rim width of the wheels, the DT Swiss LNs is 22 millimeters, and so it's not even that. The wheels are particularly generous. Okay, they're plump, larger if they had the Zip 303S's on, for instance. But
to be fair, I don't think many people are going to put some 303S's on an Endurace.
I don't know. I think that's crying out for it, really. I really love like an aluminium frame, just the sort of solidity to it over carbon. You don't have to worry, as I say, about like the old like knock and scrape. It's it can sort of put up with the rough and tumble of life a little bit better. But then you want to offset that a little bit, and so some like lighter wheels, a little bit of aerodynamicism. So this is coming in at £1,649. And now, just to put that in perspective, a Specialized Alley Sport with Shimano Tiagra. So we're looking at Shimano 105 with 12 speeds versus Shimano Tiagra with 10 speeds. The Specialized is £50 cheaper. And so, what are you going to do? Like, which one are you going to choose out of those two? It's really quite incredible, the value on this, and it even extends to Trek. And so, to get the Trek Monda ALR with with the same group set, that's £2,100. Whereas to get it with the old 105 11 speed, that's still more expensive, around about the 1,800 mark. And so,
what do we reckon? We reckon that the Endurace here is actually delivering really good value for money.
Incredible value. And you almost think that you might like wise up to it a little bit and like bump the price up, because right now it really does stand out for the value that you're getting.
It's nice to see what is probably all the bike that most people really could ever need.
Yes.
Without going crazy, it's all the bike you could really ever need, and it's still at a much more palatable price point than A, its competitors, but B, it's not even in the same league as most carbon bikes, is it? When you're talking about spending £3,000-4,000 on something with 105, it's not. I think it's refreshing more than anything to see something coming in considerably under £2,000 that would absolutely be a brilliant bike for most people.
Well, let us know down below. Bearing in mind the price of this bike, would you prefer to have an entire Canyon Endurace or the new Enve Handlebars? Let us know down below.